Hey, thanks for joining us on our Monday market update. We are the Hatch Homes Group, and we're going to talk about this buzzword that we hear a lot. Kind of a little bit of fear mongering, but we all understand why, because foreclosure sounds very, very scary.
Yeah, I see emails almost every day. Flood of foreclosures coming. Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to kind of break it down. What's the timeline? How would that impact our market, and kind of expectations on what an actual foreclosure property would look like for you to buy. First, we're going to have Johnny go over our weekly market stats. Take it away.
Take it away, Johnny.
So the average home price for the greater Portland area, and this is going to be including all condos as well, is $575,600. Inventory has actually gone down from 0.9 to 0.8 month supply. And same with the most active price point. That went down a little bit too. It's down to 450 to 500,000 is the most active price point. And the average days on market, including all condominiums and everything, is 64 days.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've got a comment about that. That average price range is for single family residents in the Portland, city of Portland. And in that price range is interesting. The list to sales price ratio is 103, nearly 104%. So
wow.
That's where the multiple offers are happening, which you can understand if there's big demand.
Yeah. And I was going to say that with the 0.8 months inventory, we're definitely not, we're not expecting the same level of price increase year over year for 2022. However, with 0.8 months inventory, that is going to push prices, prices are going to go up. We got 0.8 months of inventory and we have 104. So average list to sales price ratio. So
and
I think
the 64 days is a little misleading, and some people may have heard in the press or they've looked at the months statistics from the RMLS. RMLS is saying that the average for last month was 27 days, but that 64 days is only active listings for the
average of things on the market then. Yeah. I also wonder if the average price went down just because there's a lot of first-time buyers getting into the market before the interest rates go up again. I think it's just interesting to see that the average price went down.
Well, I noticed this fall, there was a lot more homes that came on the market in the lower price point. There was something happened this fall where there was just a lot more opportunity for the first-time home buyer price point in Portland.
That's good. It's promising.
Yeah. So we're going to get into foreclosures, right? So what is a foreclosure? A foreclosure happens when you have a loan on your property, you cannot pay it. You don't pay your bank, and then they take the house back. This is a process, right? It doesn't go right away. And I always like to say, when I got into real estate back in the Great Recession, right, so many of the properties were foreclosures or short sales. So we had a really good insight on that process, how long it takes, and pretty much how banks don't want to be property owners. That's not what they want.
They're also pretty astute. They know what the market, and they use market experts to help them sell them.
Well, yeah, we used to do what they call BPOs, broker price opinion. So banks would reach out to us and say, basically, it's a realtor appraisal. What is this house worth? So they're getting professional opinions on what they should list the property at, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Timeline.
Yeah. I think John had something to say about this, but I think it's really important to think of the 180-day right of redemption period. So when you're going into the foreclosure process, they'll give you that time to stop, to look at your options to avoid that.
On average, it's like a 6 months process. It was interesting that in the time 2007 to 2007, when there was a market bubble crash, and we saw 93 million people lose their homes in that period. during that crash. And then in
7 to
Portland during that, like 2012, which is sort of the bottom of the market, that last cycle, there were 1,222 homes that went through the foreclosure process.
Mm.
This year, there's been just 13.
Wow.
Vastly different.
Wow.
And there have been over 1 million people have gone through this forbearance process.
Mhm.
And but of those 1,200,000, 93% of them have got at least 10% equity in their homes.
Mhm.
So when they're faced with, if they can't catch up with their payments and they're faced with a foreclosure demand from the banks, they are going to be able to sell and not lose money and be saddled with a foreclosure.
Right. And I
affecting their
think
credit.
that's why we can't expect a flood in the market of foreclosure properties.
No,
And
not
also-
a huge, yeah. In fact, right now, we could do with some more inventory for our buyers. Yeah.
But
Well,
it's good because we don't want people to lose their houses either.
No.
And I think that does touch on the, like, a big assumption that people have is that foreclosures like are usually run down houses and things like that. And that's a big assumption that's not necessarily true. It just means people got underwater for multiple reasons. And I think that's why people do think that if they go for foreclosure, that they're going to get a bargain. They're going to get like a really good deal. And also, like, a foreclosure is different than bank owned. Like, things don't go on the market until the bank actually does repossess it and take it back and put it on the market. And they're going to, like John said before, we said before that it's always, they're going to use a BPO, a broker price opinion, and they're going to work with brokers to sometimes list those homes with the market in mind. And with the inventory being so low, it's still going to be really competitive. So there's really not going to be a bargain to, so I think those are some biggest.
I think, yeah, it's a good point. And like when, we've all had our clients, email us like, hey, they saw this pre-foreclosure on Zillow or something like that. And, unfortunately, those just aren't really valid opportunities to purchase today because of all these things, right?
Right. Especially with the people with equity in their homes. They may be in the pre-foreclosure process, but they can get out of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that answered a lot of people's questions and helped with learning about what that means and what it might mean for the market.
Yeah.
With people coming to forbearance.
Yeah, absolutely. And
if you know of anyone that is in a troubled situation and wants advice and guidance, then we've got a lot of experience in this to give you the best help and guidance that we can.
yeah, I know I've told this story before, but back in, I have regrets back in the Great Recession, knowing people that, were going through foreclosure, right? My neighbor. And I wish they would have reached out to me or been open with me about their problems because I could have helped them. And, you don't want to go through foreclosure. It's not good for your credit, period. And you have other options. Like most people, again, have equity. If you don't have the equity, there's short sale options. That's a little bit better for your credit.
Yeah.
So reach out to us. We are here to help.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for listening. See ya.
Okay, all the best.